OKFM 101.7.
Na yeni yewura Atik Mohammed entwe enkomo Atik memochi anopai
Ejuzo Rakwame
na boko de
ya meja chami o na monzo
boko pa na SML reporter KPMG4 ye de koma mampani so de ababonte na wohwe mu no eden na wo ne ye beche wo saa ensemi mu Daily Graphic kwade o se SML cleared to continue work.
It has a medical minister with chief one and like when him that no media issues of revenue and issues of nyoma ebua mayenya ana ebua Ghana man sikatem ekonim na yade I am particularly interested in, and especially the organization I work for. These are some of the things we focus on. Good economic governance, and one of the themes that underpin good economic governance and increasing your revenue collection as a share of GDP and as a for. And this is an important issue. Eda Makumaso. Lady can Obeka, let me say, when this whole conversation began, we can say this is an important exercise. The Patrick Juma SML for a and then they had the documents as were available to me at the time, oh shit more and I'll share more. Kobe who said new mana yeah accuse you more of doing no none the Bible na and no credit. But of course when people allege Ninyanze ben jumana ya de nukrano abeda abeto. Na abede di say some of the people are accused of no and no credit. But let me say this point. First and foremost, SML4 have been able, even through the audit, to increase government's revenue by over 2 billion. Even though SML4 have just had and have taken receipt of a more statement via more issue, they even disagree with the figure KPMG is quoting. Almost a bruiser. According to them, is in the region of 14 billion, not even 1.7 billion liters. As
A region of 14 billion.
Yes, not 1.7 billion liters, as KPMG is even saying, no. What is here? Which means that according to SML, the volumes are even understated. But nonetheless, the principle is that Ejuma na omoye no, Ejuma abayin sikatem and abayin tuono kosro. That for me is the bottom line. That the job and Ejuma na SML no has led to an increase in government's revenue. And even though according to SML, the volumes are even understated, which tells you that government is even getting more than KPMG catching. But let's even work with KPMG figures. 2.4 billion Ghana cedis is good money anywhere in the world. What the bad dollars more using a necra exchange artificially, you use a nukrana. We are talking about $600 million.
Hey!
Oh yes. And if the work SML does can save us this much within the subject period, and that is between
$600 million.
Absolutely.
Wow.
What does it? Ejumana omo can save Ghana this much. Which else you say? Sure you may Ukraine. If we have like 3 of SMLs doing that revenue assurance monitoring and revenue audit, I am sure we can save a lot in this country and may not even need to go borrowing. And on that thing, KPMG, I disagree with some of their findings. And SML4 also, a bit trigger, or more recommendations, or more findings need or money or money. And one of it is the external price verification finding now. According to them, a Juma items a data. But what they have failed to recognize is what ICOMS does, the volumes as are recorded by ICOMS, are to be audited by SML. So, because the petroleum is a different ball game. So, what SML does is actually to audit what is already recorded by ICOMS, but not what ICOMS does. Because sometimes ICOMS recordings, there are discrepancies between any what they've declared to NPA and the Revenue Authority. No. And the SML is to audit what comes to ICOMS and reconcile that with the declarations that NPA and nothing for them. Because the external price verification is for you to be able to tell us, volumes are okay, would you feel amount on the buy, and Luna, Uba Ghana, no, ICOMS a record. So you can't say that because there is an inbuilt recording mechanism in ICOMS, and Nunu or Muya is duplicity. Because sometimes between Amanoni and Ghana port, you only between either or Puso. And I'm sure you are fully aware. So some of the petroleum products get they vanish on transit to Ghana. You declare, me importing by 10 billion, analysis 10 million liters. Now between the point of import, any Ghana, liters may be Ira. ICOMS will not be able to discover near Ira or Pusuno because it only discovers what gets to the port. And the SML is able to tell that between every no one and a bedroom port, if there is a discrepancy, they are able to tell. Into external price verification are very important. And their recommendations there, I disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And my humble plea to the president is that the president should consider reinstating that part of the contract for them to continue doing what they are doing.
Mm.
The other issue is
you should tell me they may terminate.
No, once you say they may terminate, what you are indirectly saying is that you are giving them the discretion to decide that. So what if they decide to say, we are terminating? What must say? You do not leave the room because already, my view is that there are some people who feel that they should have been the ones doing this job. So once you create that room, no matter how small, they will take advantage. What must say? And non change. They bit about upstream and then minerals audit. I share the view, sir. Even though KPM Jankasa Jatum said there could be revenue leakages in these areas and in these sectors, the upstream petroleum sector and then minerals. But your mark can say, before I had the contract, they need to do needs assessment. But my understanding is that, and indeed consistent with what SML has issued, almost prior to the contract, needs assessments were done. So, here, on what basis are they proceeding to say, because these assessments are terminating contracts, and that there is a possibility that there could be leakages into young needs assessment. But my understanding that documents were even adduced to support the fact that needs assessments were done. But whatever it is, if the president agrees with that recommendation that needs assessments be done, and that in the interim that contract be terminated, I have no difficulty. But the word of caution I am issuing is that if there's going to be any needs assessment process and subsequent award of contract, it should be transparent. There should be transparency in the superlative, which means that the highest level of transparency is what we'll be looking for. Essence there, situation be a way you be contract more. Now, before we realize, now see Obi na ye jumano. Adanya or move it's require needs assessment and NSC Yamfama Obi from on ye. If you disagree, sir, needs assessment was done and Ube Frona, let it be transparent. And I dare say, sir, any sector, our tax receipts are dependent on volumes. And yet, there would always be revenue leakages because people profit by under declaring. What is here? And I always cite the example of communication service tax. Because government's communication service tax, any VAT on communication, are dependent on how many stock minutes are recorded. Now, telcos, we're bringing under declared call volumes.
Sure.
Because the under declared volumes, the difference, and in the same way, upstream petroleum sector, if they under declared the number of liters they are producing per day, minerals, if a mining firm under declares the amount of gold they have produced and other diamonds they have produced in any particular business day, and I let me in a particular business matter, that and the declared volumes, comes to them, and I come to them as Sika. Until there's always an incentive to underdeclare. And to me, I have no doubt there are revenue leakages in these areas. If there's these assessments, I have no difficulty. But let it be transparent and let it be such that at the end of the day, Nipana will be the contract because I have that belief there. They would find revenue leakages and they would find the need for revenue assurance monitoring and revenue audit. But a man going to say, like I said, at the end of the day, no be a feature could decide Jumano. Yes. Now, finally, Obekai, before this report was finally produced, Mitikanka said the president hastened in suspending the work of of SML.
Okay.
I disagreed with that suspension. And I said, look, what if it turns out, say, Juma, SML, Juma that brings about revenue. Between the period he suspended any the production of this report, Juma na Oman, look at the amount of money we have lost. What was here? So now, KPM just confirms that Juma actually results in government making more revenue. So between the period he suspended and now, how do we get it back?
Yes,
exactly. So I said that with the caveat said, if it turns out KPMG finding at best, they are not entitled to a dime. But if it turns out a juvenile save Ghana money and that it increases our revenue, a juvenile within that period, I see the contract never terminated. Now you see a terminated contract, but the period is suspended. Ghana lost money. Maybe look at the volumes we are talking about. And this is lost revenue that can never be received. That's why I sounded that question earlier. Said, your suspension of your contract, may be ill advised. But put in place some caveats. Say if it turns out the audit report on then they are not entitled to any payment.
Okay.
But say as has been confirmed now, Ghana, revenue, then let it continue as if they are still working within the terms of their contracts. Well, and this suggestion also says there should be a fixed instead of variable fee structure. Well, I do not know the thinking that went to it, but I am not in the position to say that is better or it is not. Because my view is that if there is a fixed fee structure, is it going to be indexed against volumes? Such that it says for every 10 million liters and now 1 million liters, this is how much you receive. If you are able to receive. And now what is that going to be? Because if you have a fixed fee structure, that is not indexed to volumes. Now, a local way to say the kind of work as super because Suba's contract was such that whether they are able to discover differences in call volumes or not, she can 75 million
which was bad.
So once you have that fixed fee structure in the nature of Suba for the end, you are even discouraging SML from working. Because whether you discover volumes and discover volumes but that is for SML and government to discuss. I am sure at the end of the day, the Minister of Finance, GRE, and SML would come to a reasonable fee structure for all parties. But I, like I said, have issues with saying that external price verification. I have difficulty. Because the way I'm for LG, because once they come and they find a way to say that volumes when it's better items, there's no further way of checking whether indeed volumes are declared items, and then you're almost crafty and there's no other way. The SML system was the only way to find that out. Once you take that out, we are going to lose the revenue. And for me, my main way enter to what was there? And I'm happy SML has disagreed with portions of the report. my understanding is that when there is an audit report on an entity, you are the copy mount. Sometimes there is queries in the form of your friend management letter, your throw management letter. It is in that management letter they raise queries. Oh, where the documents we Yansanka you say but one document by what are there? Then let them respond to the queries before you then do the production of your final report. My understanding is that SML didn't get a copy of the report they produced.
Oh.
And yes, and they are relying on just the communication that the director of the presidency, the director of communication at the presidency, Eddie Mayer, I am further urging, sir, that report needs to be made public. The KPMG report must be made public.
Okay.
Because what we are reading is just a summary by the presidency of the recommendations and the findings.
At least in the Quran, say the executive summary of the KPMG report.
What it is. And the full report, what person can executive summary, what time to read the entire report. Kind of what you here, why and how they came to this conclusion. That's my appeal to the president.
Okay.
That report must be made publicly available because it's an audit on Myanmar FA in so that we can all read and understand because SML4 are taking contrary positions to some of the findings.
Okay.
How do we reconcile the two?
Unless
we have the benefit of our reports now.
Okay.
If we have the benefit of the full report, then we can make a headway. But I am excited for one thing, sir. Yes, so apart from the regrets that I indicated earlier, and the warning I gave earlier, sir, we might be losing money if we suspend Omwejumano. And also apart from the issue of external price verification, I think all in all, Ghana is in a good place because Omankasai said there are other qualitative mechanisms that SML they are too that you can monitor real-time volumes in and for. And the idea is a good step going forward. And I expect SML and the other players, Ministry of Finance, GRA, to have a roundtable discussion. Because my interest is how do we maximize our revenue? How do we increase our revenue collection? And how do we increase revenue as a percentage of GDP? Our revenue to GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the sub-region. How, if you read the GRA annual report, the 2022 one, you realize that there is a great deal of room for improvement. And some of these interventions, and why I may increase tax revenue to the GDP ratio.
Mini ameda se no paper se waje bere na ne atwetwe nkomo.
Bisu me da se.
Yo. Obani ane ne twetwe nkomo yi eye Atik Mohammed. Ena ye ne twetwe nkomo okay 101.7 eso.
OKFM 101.7.